We are joined in this discussion by Avraham Shalev, lawyer and researcher at Kohelet Policy Forum, located in Jerusalem, and we are also joined by Ali M. Abushbak, independent Palestinian researcher. I wanted to come to you first, Avraham. Israel is looking to extend phase one of the Gaza troops, although a long deal remains elusive. Could you explain why Israel believes extending this initial phase is important and what obstacles stand in the way of a more comprehensive agreement?
First, I want to acknowledge that today is an extremely difficult day in Israel. We're bringing to rest the bodies of Shiri Bibas and her two young children, Ariel, 4 years old, and Kfir, 10 months old, who were kidnapped by Palestinian terrorists on October 7th and murdered in captivity. And the cruelty of their murder just underscores the fact of Israel's determination that at the end, Hamas will not remain in Gaza, and Gaza will no longer pose a security threat to Israel. So Israel's goal now is to get as many hostages as it can out of Gaza. But ultimately, the war will continue unless Hamas puts down its weapons.
Ali M. Abushbak, I wanted to talk about the extension of this truce. Israel aims to extend the initial phase. How do you think Palestinian factions, including Hamas, view this extension? Do you see it as a step towards a lasting peace agreement or as merely a temporary pause?
Well, thank you for having me. In fact, there is no doubt about Palestinian, including Hamas and other Palestinian factions. They are agreed to stop the war and not going back to the war. Since the huge loss in Gaza, more than 48,000 of Palestinians have been killed and hundreds of thousands of Palestinians got injured during this war. Most of them, they were civilians. And Hamas, there is a pressure on the Hamas from the Palestinian community and from the people on the ground to stop the war there, since they can't remain to steadfastness during this this Israeli backlash on the Palestinian. Hamas is not interested to go back to the war, as well as other Palestinian faction. First, secondary, that who want, to go back to the war, just only Benjamin Netanyahu and his far-right wing, Benevir and Smotrich, who doesn't accept the ceasefire in Gaza for their personal purpose and for personal benefit for them. In fact, Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to buy the time, and he's trying to make the far-right wing satisfied from his policy. And here is that USA, that the USA Middle East invade. He confirmed that the negotiation and the ceasefire deal is remain on the track, and he's so optimistic about the negotiation and the ceasefire. Why there is Benjamin Netanyahu? He doesn't want to move forward second phase of the negotiation, which everyone consider it as the most difficult point and phase in the negotiation between Hamas and Israel, because of Benjamin Netanyahu. And during the ceasefire, they are confirmed that it should be Hamas erased. But unfortunately, after 15 months of the war and continuous fighting on the ground, Hamas it seems that it's still intact, and Hamas is still controlling Gaza, which no one can accept it from Israeli side, and even Arab nation. And there is next month there's Arab summit who will take will take some action on the ground to save the Palestinian and to save. To counter the Donald Trump plan about displacement of the Palestinian for the restructured in Gaza.
Avraham, I wanted to talk about a very recent update. A Hamas-allied group has announced plans to release the body of Israeli hostage Ohad Yahalomi. How significant is this gesture to Israeli authorities, given the circumstances of the previous humiliating handover that have happened previously in these negotiations? Will this pave the way for further dialogue?
Again, Israel's goal now is to get as many hostage bodies and living hostages out of Gaza. And at the same time, it will not accept the situation in which Hamas continues to rule the Gaza Strip at the end of the war. So we have a certain contradiction or tension between these two goals. Israel has demanded, after seeing the humiliating ceremonies in which the previous hostages were released, even ceremonies in which the bodies of children were handed over, humiliating against international law. It has demanded that these not continue. In the last ceremony on Saturday, Hamas brought 2 hostages who would not be freed to mock them, showing that they will not be freed in this round. So Israel is again trying to extend this current stage of the ceasefire, but ultimately the question is Hamas ready to lay down its weapons to give up rule over Gaza, and if not, then the war will be renewed.
Ali Bushback, I want to come back to this update that has just come forth in the past hour. The release of the body of Ohad Yahalomi. In your view, what motivated this decision, and how might it affect broader negotiations with Israel?
Well, Palestinian resistance, they committed for their obligation for the ceasefire. They didn't violate it at all. Since the Israeli side continues finding an excuses to violate the ceasefire first. And secondary, I guess now Hamas, when they will hand over the death body of our remain death body for the Israeli captive, I guess Hamas will tolerate it very well. It will not provoke Israeli side, since they are taking as excuses to delay and to violate the exchange and violated the ceasefire between Palestinian. In my opinion, this is optimistic, that showing Hamas remain to use that adopting the policy of control self and adopting the policy of commit for their obligation according to ceasefire. In the contract, Israel doesn't accept that things, because they are looking for any gap to go back to the war, since Hamas using the amateur soul for not going back to the war. As he said, Abraham, Hamas will not accept it to demilitarize, and Hamas will not accept to leave Gaza or not controlling Gaza. It's a huge hurdles for the next phase of the negotiation. As I mentioned, that either Israel and America and also Arab nation will not accept that Hamas remain to control or rule in Gaza. But on the ground, Hamas seems that will not give up from the controlling Gaza. But it's, exchanging the remain body and releasing the 600 plus. It sounds this is optimist face and optimist step for both sides to show and their flexibility for negotiation and for ceasefire.
I wanted to add regarding Hamas's violation of the ceasefire. Originally, Hamas did not return the body of Shiri Bibas. They tried to pass off the body of a random Gazan woman instead of Shiri Bibas. Only when Israel's Forensic Institute confirmed that this was not Shiri, and there was an outcry. Finally, Hamas did release the body, but they at first tried to pass off another body.
Avraham,
This is intentionally mistake. It happened mixed that because that when Israel, Hamas released a statement about this event, and I guess it's not interest Hamas to provoke Israel and to return and the mistakes body to to Israel. Giving them Palestinian remain body in a state of Shiri. And the second day, Hamas returned the Shiri's body to the Israeli side, isn't it?
So they clearly had the body easily accessible.
Avraham, I want to go back and talk about what the feeling is in Israel right now. You say, obviously, it's a very sad day in Israel. Shiri Bibas is being laid to rest. But what is the general feeling about the ceasefire, this fragile ceasefire being held and negotiations moving forward?
Again, there is tremendous anger in Israel. There's a realization that this war in Gaza cannot end like all the previous wars as another round of conflict in which Hamas will go back to rebuilding its military, to posing a threat to Israel, and that at the end of the war there must be Israeli victory. We've seen Hamas's absolute cruelty on October 7th, right? Horrors that bring to mind ISIS and the worst Islamic jihadist organizations. And Israelis are committed, right? Ali spoke about how Israel didn't succeed in defeating Hamas in the past 15 months, right? You need to remember, first of all, of course, Israel has had tremendous successes in terms of taking out Hamas's almost entire leadership. But Israel was under tremendous pressure from the Biden administration to hold back its response. And now the Trump administration realizes that Hamas cannot continue to rule Gaza, has given Israel almost carte blanche to respond, and this is a historic opportunity. And I think that there is wide consensus. It's not a matter of right and left. There might be a disagreement over whether we prioritize right now the return of the hostages and when we go back to war. But there's a wide agreement that eventually we will go back to war and we will win.
From the outside, Avraham, it seems like this deal is being made progress. Would you not say there is any chance of a long-term peace agreement?
I do not believe that there can be any long-term peace agreement between Hamas, which sees the destruction of Israel as a religious duty, and sees Israel's existence as illegitimate and temporary, and Israel, right? Hamas has said repeatedly that October 7th is only the beginning, that there will be more October 7ths. Hamas obviously has not changed its policy regarding its belief in Israel's eventual non-existence. So it's impossible to see how any permanent ceasefire could be reached between Israel and Hamas.
Yes, Ali Emma Bushback. Finally, your thoughts from your perspective. What are the main barriers of achieving a long-term agreement, if there is any chances of one between Israel and Hamas?
Long-time agreement between Hamas and Israel, that will not happen, in my opinion, because since the Hamas overhanded Gaza in 2007, there is a several of military round and wars Israel have been committed during the Hamas ruling Gaza in 2008 and the cost of lead and 2012. And in 2014, the protective age, and recently in this war. So there is no Hamas and Israel. I guess there is no long-time truce, because Hamas is not a Palestinian. It's not a Palestinian representative to be a peace between Israel and Hamas. Hamas is just only a function, a Palestinian resistance. Military group. So there is a truce between Hamas and Israel, but a long-term truce between Hamas and Israel, I don't believe in that. And that's it. Lapid, yesterday, he he put his proposal about ruling Gaza by Egypt, which not accepted by Egypt, I guess, and either also by Palestinian Authority. The main solution, I guess, the two-state solution between Palestinian and Israel.
Yeah.
That's maybe in this round of conflict.
Avraham Shalav and Ali Emma Bushback, thank you very much for joining us.